Welcome to Massive Late Fee. And now your hosts, Mark and Carol. Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to Massive Late Fee. My name is Mark. With me as always is my girlfriend Carol. How you doing, Carol?
Hey, what's up?
Not much. It's been a good week. It's, June 9th, 1995.
Can you believe that we have been doing these tapes for more than 18 months?
I know.
It's crazy.
It is nuts. It's nuts. Speaking
nuts.
of...
I want some nuts. How about roasted nuts?
What?
Nuts.
Okay.
I want some nuts.
Okay. Roasted, huh?
Yeah.
All right. Sounds good. Salted or unsalted?
I would like them chestnuts roasted over an open fire.
Well, that's what you want is chestnuts?
No, they're gross.
Yeah, I don't like chestnuts either. What's your favorite type of nut?
I like those, cinnamon almonds.
Oh, those are good.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, speaking of nuts, and by that I mean insanity, the OJ trial.
Ooh.
So, I've got my free press back, and
Yay.
yeah, it's fun. I've been going through some stories. Obviously, the big story dating back, but the big story is good old Terry McNichols and Timothy McVeigh, Michigan's own,
Yay again.
who, as you know now, are the prime suspects in the bombing of the Oklahoma City Federal Building. Tragic there. So we'll see. We'll see what happens to them. Their trial goes on. But this one, the OJ trial, apparently they showed autopsy photos at the trial. I don't think they televised them. Pretty sure that they didn't. I didn't watch them if they did. So, I don't have I don't have that kind of information. But apparently the jury was quite shaken by them. OJ apparently wiped away some tears upon seeing them.
Well, he is an actor, so...
Carol's very convinced that OJ did it. Crocodile tears, as they would say, right?
I'm glad they didn't actually show them on TV. I hope they didn't anyway. That seems like it would be pretty traumatizing.
Yeah, I can't imagine. From what I've heard, it was quite graphic, what happened to them. So, but that's the prosecution says that maybe they mishandled things a little bit in the showing of the autopsy photos. Maybe they were a little too graphic or whatever. But they said that it doesn't deter the evidence that was gathered in these autopsies. So I don't know. I mean, if you believe in DNA, this this new evidence that they're trying to put forth here, it seems likely he did it.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I'll tell you what though, a prominent black athlete. The riots were 3 years ago. So, a prominent black athlete, if he's found guilty of this, what's going to happen in LA?
I don't know. We'll see.
They're already angry at the police, incredibly. They have been for a while. The Rodney King thing and all that stuff and 400 years of slavery.
Right.
So if they find OJ, that's my worry, is if they find OJ guilty, and people think the cops kind of set him up and all this stuff, then what happens there?
Well, hopefully...
Welcome to our comedy show. Yeah, go ahead.
Hopefully, either way, whether he's found guilty or not, people will keep their cool, because if he's found guilty, he might have done it. He might have been framed. We don't know that. That's another trial.
Right. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I hope for everyone's sake that justice is done.
Right.
But yeah, I haven't had a lot of time to really go through things. So there's not much as far as news goes. Oh, the other thing, though, is the Red Wings. Now, I know you don't like to talk about sports, but the Red Wings are on the verge of the Stanley Cup final.
Oh, that's exciting, though. I like the Red Wings, and I would like them to get the Stanley Cup. I mean,
The Stanley Club.
the club, yeah.
The Stanley Clap.
I mean,
It's a very specific venereal disease to only hockey players. The Stanley Clap. Wow.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm yawning. I need to get more sleep.
Apparently. Anyway, or the show is just that boring to you.
No, I'm just tired.
They're on the verge of the Stanley Cup. They're playing the Chicago Blackhawks, and we'll see what happens there. But I'm pretty sure they're gonna make it.
Will it be on TV?
I wish we were filming this so that everyone could see the look of incredulity I just gave Carol. Yes, the Stanley Cup playoffs is on TV.
I think we should watch it.
Okay. What do you think the NHL is? They're just some club.
Well, I mean, not all the games are on TV.
They're playing down at a local pond. Maybe they'll drag some VHS cameras out there so that we can watch it on channel 190.
No.
Yeah, it'll be televised.
Okay.
Jeez.
Cool.
Oh my goodness. Anyway, so speaking of cool, we saw the coolest movie in the world.
No, we did not.
No, it was the coolest movie in the world because it's been pretty hot, and that air conditioning in that theater was glorious.
Yeah, that part was good.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, we saw Die Hard with a Vengeance
For our anniversary. That's what he chose to watch for our anniversary.
It wasn't for the anniversary. It wasn't like, let's celebrate our anniversary with an action movie.
When did we go see it?
Whatever.
No.
Just, do you think it was for our anniversary?
No, I think it was for making a tape, but it was on our anniversary.
Anyway, so yeah, we saw it. We saw it. Mm-hmm. What'd you think? I want your thoughts. I want your initial thoughts, and then we'll go through it.
Well, okay, I didn't see the first two Die Hard movies, so I'm just going off of what you told me.
Mm-hmm.
And initially, it had me. I was hooked. I was into this movie. And at some point, it lost me. It starts out strong, I think. Mm-hmm. The sandwich board down in Harlem.
Yeah.
That's genius and hilarious. I mean, the whole scene was great. But I don't know, it's just an hour and a half into the more than 2 hour long movie.
That's the biggest problem.
It felt like it was over, but it wasn't over. And then I started to think that it would never be over, and I was trapped in some kind of dimension of hell with Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson. So
it was a Twilight Zone episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. So length is an issue. Pacing is an issue.
Yes.
Those are the two biggest issues in the movie. This is again directed by John McTiernan, who directed the first movie and also directed Predator. Very, very good action director, and a lot of this movie works, but where it fails, it really fails.
Right.
And yeah, length of the film is an issue, and pacing is a big issue. It's a very poorly paced film. But real quick, I wanted to drop some knowledge for you.
Ooh, let's do it.
And see if you can be amazed by this. Originally, the first Die Hard movie is based on a book.
Ooh.
No, it's based on a book. I can't remember the name of the writer, but it's based on a book called, I think, what is it called? Something about tomorrow's never enough or something. I don't know. Anyway, the first book in this series,
yes,
was written by this guy, and they made it into a movie. I think it was called The Detective, and it starred Frank Sinatra. Okay, this movie came out in like the late or the early 70s.
Did you see it
Yeah, I saw it.
in the theater?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it in utero.
Well, I know how much you love Sinatra, so I figured we'd work something out.
But anyway, so yeah, I have a time machine, but I only use it to watch movies and listen to music.
Yeah, forget about humanity.
I've seen Sinatra live at the Copacabana 5 times.
Wow.
Anyway,
And he never takes me.
you'd look good in like 1940s apparel.
Thanks.
Anyway, so the movie, The Detective, Sinatra, right? Sinatra had a deal in his contract that if they ever made a sequel, there was no sequel book, but if they ever made a sequel to the movie, that he, with this character, that he would get to play it again.
Oh, really?
Or he had right of first refusal.
Okay.
So, this writer, I think it was Robert something, I really wish I could remember his name, he wrote a sequel years later. Like, he'd had a dream and he wrote this sequel and everything. And, same detective and everything. He was close to, he was like retired. He's basically pulled out of retirement, but all this like crazy action stuff happens to him. And they decide they're going to make this into a movie. Someone said, hey, we can make this into a good movie. They changed a lot of plot elements and everything. But when they went, and that became Die Hard, when they went to make it, though, because it was technically a sequel, they had to offer it to Frank Sinatra, like 74-year-old Frank Sinatra.
Oh, that's funny.
Who said, no thanks.
Of course.
I'm retired from acting. I do like 4 concerts a year, and no, I don't want to do an action movie. So
Can you even imagine? Like, that would have been ridiculous. I think they would have just had to choose to not make the movie.
I guess, yeah, because the thing is they, like I said, they made it, it's not completely different from the book, but there's a lot of changes in the movie from the book. And, yeah, I mean, it was like, their vision wouldn't have fit with Sinatra.
No, of course not.
So, yeah, I don't know.
It's not grumpier old men.
So I don't know what they would have done.
Yeah.
But yeah, so luckily Sinatra turned it down, and then I think they offered it to Schwarzenegger, I believe, and I think they offered it to Mel Gibson. They offered it to a few different people. Basically anyone that was, because the movie came out, like I said, like in '88. So anybody that was popular in the late '80s, they kind of offered it to, and then eventually, like everyone turned it down, and then eventually they got Bruce Willis, who was up and coming at that point. So.
Poor Bruce Willis, like, he's all down on the list, but like you said, it was a big break for him then.
He was only known for Moonlighting at the time, that TV show with Sybil Shepherd.
Okay.
And that movie Blind Date. And that's basically, he was known as like a comedy guy, not an action guy. And yeah, this was his big break, So anyway, so they made this one, they made the second one, and now they've made the third one. The first one is a classic of cinema. The second one is, second one's fine, I guess. It's not terrible, but it's essentially the same movie again, and then only it's in an airport instead of in a building, and now it's all of New York in this one. They just keep getting bigger. But this one, I think, like I said, at the beginning it was good. So we'll go through the plot. For those of you that know Die Hard, Hans Gruber, Mr. Cowboy, was the bad guy, and he obviously dies. We get a very quick flashback of that very iconic scene from the original Die Hard, which is funny to me. It's just like, if you guys didn't see Die Hard, okay, here's what happened. Just like,
right.
If people didn't see it, that doesn't really give them anything. And if they did see it, then they don't need that. So it was weird, but it was a weird cut in.
I wonder if they had to pay that dude.
Alan Rickman?
Yeah, I wonder if he got royalties for that use of that.
Probably did, yes.
Couple seconds.
He probably did.
Good for him.
Alan, remember that time that we pushed you down without telling you that we were going to push you? And you got that incredibly genuine look of shock on your face? We're going to use that again in a movie, okay? As long as I get my money. But anyway, so this time around, the villain, as we find out, is named Simon, and it's Simon Gruber. It's Hans Gruber's brother.
It seems kind of ridiculous.
It's you know what it smacks of to me? Jaws: The Revenge, where it's like the original Jaws, great movie, great suspense movie, Steven Spielberg, Roy Scheider, all that stuff, right? Robert, what's his name? You know.
I don't know.
You know.
Do not.
Yes, you do.
I'm sorry.
Roy Scheider, Richard Dreyfuss, and not Robert Preston. I can't think of his name.
Literally, the only thing I remember about Jaws is we need a bigger boat. Or we're gonna need a bigger boat, or something like that. Yeah, that's it.
Anyway.
Dun. But then when I hear that, it makes me think of Salsa Shark.
Oh, from the that Clerks movie we watched last year, yeah. Anyway, first one's great, right? They get progressively worse as it goes along. But then Jaws: The Revenge, it's like, so it starts out, it's just a shark, okay? Right. And then by the time we get to Jaws: The Revenge, it's like, oh, it's an evil entity that is seeking revenge and swam all the way down the coastline from Amity to Florida or the Caribbean or wherever they are.
Wow.
Yeah. Although my cousin and I, Alex, love that scene where they're looking for oysters because they're looking for pearls and stuff, and the guy's like, "Come on, man, you gotta, you can find them. The hard on the outside, mushy on the inside. Open your eyes, man." But anyway, so that's what it reminds me of, is that craziness. By the way, real quick, at the end of, or the origin of Jaws, the book by Peter Benchley, Jaws basically dies from attrition. They are shooting harpoons into him and stuff like that. They're baiting him with chum. They're shooting harpoons. Eventually, he just like bleeds out.
That's mean.
Well, it's a shark that's terrorizing and eating people on the coast, so they got to do something.
But that's mean. Like, couldn't they do something faster?
Well,
they blow him up.
They do in the movie. But the thing is it's a realistic ending for the book. Mm-hmm. But Steven Spielberg realized that's not a satisfying conclusion to this story. So in the movie, they get Jaws to bite like a tank or something like that. Roy Scheider fires a gun at the tank. It explodes, and the shark explodes. And Peter Benchley said to Steven Spielberg, he's like, "This is ridiculous. This would never happen. It would not happen this way. It doesn't,
right.
It makes no biological sense. It makes no sense in physics. No one is going to buy this." And Steven Spielberg said, "If they've come with me this far, they'll believe it." That's why he's a good filmmaker, because he understands that principle.
Right.
And it is. It's an iconic scene in the movie. But anyway, so that's what this reminds me of. It reminds me of Jaws: The Revenge, the worst Jaws movie, in the way that it's like, oh, it's Simon Gruber's brother. And it doesn't have to, or Hans Gruber's brother, and it doesn't have to be.
Right.
There is nothing about this movie that is enhanced by making him his brother.
Maybe they really just wanted to pay Alan Rickman.
I guess so. And Jeremy Irons is also English, so
yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, that was the funniest part about this movie to me, was the terrible American accents.
And their German accent isn't that good either. I mean, no offense, Jeremy Irons, you're a great actor, but the German accent's not that good either.
Right.
Because I take German class, and it's, yeah.
Bad accents all around.
But yeah, the American accents were like, who is that fooling?
Right. Like, I can't even do what they did. Like, it was kind of like a Texan.
Yeah. Hey there now, Bob. It's like, it's going to take a fortnight to get.
It's like,
it was terrible.
It's like, do we really sound like that to you?
Right. It's like, it was like, it'd be like, it's the equivalent of Dick Van Dyke doing a British accent.
Okay.
Well, hello, Maury. Like, that's as bad as it is. Their American accent. It's terrible.
I love Dick Van Dyke so much it doesn't even faze me.
No, I know. It's so jolly all the day with Mary. It's a terrible, terrible accent. But anyway, so okay. So at the beginning, like she said, Simon calls the police department. There's been a big explosion at some department store, and he's like, "Hey, that explosion at the department store? That was me." And they're not like, can you prove that? They're just like, oh, okay.
Right.
So it's you. All right, we're just gonna believe this. And they're like, and he's basically, we don't know this till we see the sign, but it's the big reveal. And this actually works really well too. But he says, hey, get me John McClane, and I want you to take him to Harlem and have him wear a sandwich board that says, I hate
The N-word.
and then, the hard R and all written out on this board. So right in the middle of Harlem. So that's so
in his underpants.
Yeah. So I think do you think he wants him to die?
Yeah.
Because he doesn't necessarily need McClane for his plan, I guess. He kind of does, but he also kind of doesn't. It could be just anybody. Like, it really does feel like he's just toying with him, I guess. I guess that's the reason to make it Hans Gruber's brother.
Right.
Is to give some reason why John McClane is involved in this.
Well, and to justify the playing around with him, because that's his vengeance. It's Die Hard with a vengeance.
Right, yeah. So he says, you got to do this. And I assume that he thinks it's possible that he could die.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's a few different times I think he thinks it's possible that he could die, and he's kind of irritated that he continues to survive.
Right. So Samuel L. Jackson, we're introduced to Samuel L. Jackson, who hates white people. And it's such a weird character arc to give to Samuel L. Jackson. Or to give to, I mean, not him particularly as an actor, but just, it's a weird character arc for anyone in a movie like this. Like, it's an action movie, it's mostly concerned with that, and it's like, let's have a character who's black who hates white people, and then eventually he learns to trust one.
Right.
Like, it's just weird. But, so he comes up and he's like, hey, you want to die? What are you doing? And Bruce Willis says, look, I'm a cop. This is, I've been forced to do this. The guy that blew up the building said he's going to blow up something else if I don't do this. And he's like, oh, fuck. There's a group of guys that have a basketball. They're not playing basketball. They're just they're hanging out on a brownstone, just like talking to each other. But all of a sudden, like, their basketball, they're like bouncing around, passing back and forth to each other and everything, bounces into the street, and you hear one of them go, what the fuck? And then they all start coming on him. And another thing I think is dumb is he has his gun taped to his back.
Yeah, there's no way he could reach it.
Yeah, why is that there? I mean, did Simon say you also have to have your gun taped to your back?
In a place that you cannot reach it?
Yeah, like, was that part of it? Did he do that because he was like, well, maybe I'll be able to defend myself in case I have to? Like, what was the deal with that?
I don't know. It was ridiculous.
So Samuel L. Jackson pulls the gun, gets slashed in the arm by one of the guys that's got a knife, and he says, hey, get the fuck off. He's crazy or whatever. The police, or they commandeer a cab, and then they go to the police station where they get fixed up, and then Simon calls again, and he's like, oh, Samuel L. Jackson, you're part of this too now.
Yeah, he kept calling him the Samaritan because he saved him.
Although he's not from Sumeria.
No. His
name is Zeus.
Yeah. His name is Zeus, and he said the only reason that he helped him was because if a white cop got killed in Harlem, there'd be 1,000 more white cops killing everybody the next day.
Yeah, which makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, that is probably the way it would happen. So they go on a series of quests, like a video game.
Right.
Where basically Simon Gruber is the Riddler. Because he's just giving them riddles. It's an older riddle, the St. Ives riddle. As I was walking to St. Ives, I met a man with 7 wives, and all this stuff, how many people were going to St. Ives. And it's just the guy. Mm-hmm. So they solve that one because Samuel L. Jackson's good at riddles. They solve a riddle about putting 4 gallons of water into a 5-gallon jug when you only have a 5 and a 3-gallon jug.
I think I would have died.
Well, I solved that one. I told you this.
Yeah, well, if we were partners in it, then I had been okay. But if I were there by myself, I wouldn't have figured that shit out.
But anyway, so It's weird because it is like he's the Riddler. What happens is he tells him he's got to make it to this certain payphone at this certain amount of time, or a bomb's going to go off on a subway train. It ends up going off. John McClane throws it out to the back of the subway car, and it explodes. Everyone's saved, like he saves everybody, but there's a giant explosion underneath there. It wreaks havoc right down in Wall Street, and they clear everybody out. All the cops are there and everything. They clear everyone out from under the subway, and you can see right down into the subway. And then Simon calls and says, "Hey, I've placed a bomb in a school somewhere."
Yeah, somewhere in New York City.
As he points out, there's 1,446 schools in New York. It's in one of them, and if you can find it, you have till 3:00 to find it. You gotta go ahead. If John McClane goes through all the stuff, he'll end up figuring out where it's at. So you're cool, and that's supposed to be like do more of my things.
Right.
So that's the whole plot to the movie, basically. And what it turns out is, much like in the first movie, they're not terrorists or whatever. They want to steal gold. They want to steal gold from the Federal Reserve, which is down there on Wall Street. And all the cops are now gone from Wall Street because they're all looking in schools all over the place. McClane figures it out. And we're basically just flat out told by two federal agents that this guy is Simon Gruber, Hans Gruber's brother, and everything. And that should be basically the end of the movie, or the beginning of the third act. But it seems like it's the end of the first act and the beginning of the rest of the movie.
Yeah, and that's where it all goes to hell.
Because the pacing of the movie up until that point's really good. It's got a fast pace, but it's not too breakneck and everything. Once we find out who he is and what the plan is, and they start enacting the plan and loading up the dump trucks and everything, then everyone kind of just faffs around for an hour doing nothing. It's like they don't know what to do with these characters. It's like they wrote the script and they said it's going to take them time to get this gold out of here. What can they do while they're getting the gold out of there? Let's have them go to the park. It's weird, and ridiculous. But yeah, that's and then so eventually, what you think happens is going to happen. They, John McClane figures it out. They chase him down. He one by one kills all his dudes. They end up
all his dudes.
Yeah, they end up finding him. Having sex with one of the women, and then John McClane ends up killing them all, and we're good.
Yeah.
And he and Samuel L. Jackson become friends. That's basically the movie. But yeah, the like I said, the pacing of the first hour is good, and then after that, it's like they had no idea what to do.
We forgot about the most interesting part, in my opinion, of the next part of the movie, when the bomb was supposedly in Samuel L. Jackson's nephew's school.
Right.
And for some reason, his nephews decide that they're not going to go with everybody else when they're doing this drill. Because they had been told that they can't evacuate the schools. So they took all the kids in, through some tunnels in the basement.
Yeah.
And these kids get locked inside a classroom where they're playing cards. How the fuck does that happen?
They hid behind the desk and no one saw them, I guess.
That's so stupid.
Teachers don't know their students. They didn't count heads. They didn't call attendance. They didn't make sure that everyone was there.
So right when the bomb's about to explode, they realize these kids are still in the building. And then there's some guy working trying to disarm the bomb. And he kind of decides he's going to sacrifice himself and stay to try to disarm it because the kids are in there. And in the end, I mean, they would have freaking died because the bomb would have gone off, and it turns out the bomb is syrup.
Yeah, cherry syrup. Yeah, that was the one bit of tension in the second half of the movie, and that's it. Honestly, everything else was just like, oh, someone else is getting killed. Okay,
right. Yeah, it was pretty boring.
I mean, you might as well have gone down on me for the second half of the movie.
Might as well. I'm sure no one in the theater would have minded.
No, everyone else was, transfixed by the movie. No, it was I don't know. It was. It's hard to say because the first part was good. The first part was really good.
Yeah.
But the second part was really bad, or at least really boring. Not bad necessarily, and not like a poorly made movie bad, but just really boring and meandering.
Yeah.
Until we get to maybe the last 10 minutes, and then it's it's the last 10 minutes is fine, but it's like we all know what's going to happen. They blew their load too early.
Yes.
Because they told us everything we needed to know an hour into the movie. What their real plan was, who this guy was, what his relationship to McClane was. Everything was answered in at the hour mark. And after that, it was just like, okay, well, we got to kill another hour till we can have McClane have his final confrontation with Simon Gruber, this guy we super care about for some reason.
Right.
And I don't even know what their plan was. It's like $140 billion worth of gold bars because it's the Federal Reserve, and it's like it's all these different countries' reserves basically of gold. And he says, Simon Gruber says that some Middle Eastern guy or whatever, despot, I'm guessing it's supposed to be Hussein or something, like Saddam Hussein or something like that.
Maybe.
But anyway, he says that he thinks he's going to make a lot of money if the gold is gone. I guess because oil will be more valuable because it'll replace gold. I don't know. It doesn't make a lot of sense because oil's valuable for its use, not, its scarcity and what it's used for, how much demand there is for energy.
Right.
But whatever. So he's supposed to sink it to the bottom of the East River, wherever the hell they are. But instead of doing that, he sinks some worthless metal, and they end up stealing the gold. Now, he used to be part of some German paramilitary force. They said that he was doing like Battle of the Bulge type stuff where they would go in and, like American accents and stuff like that, infiltration, which I have no idea how anyone ever fell for that because, as you said, their accents are terrible.
Right.
But also what, where, when? Germany hasn't had a military since the end of World War II. When was he in the military? When was he in this German military? And when was any German military organization doing any kind of infiltration techniques? During what conflict? For what reason? It makes no sense. And then they're like, oh, we were an army without a country. Now we're going to have to figure out what country we're going to buy. What are you talking about? Why were you an army without a country? They're supposed to be like mercenaries and stuff like that, but it's like, who's hiring an entire... Because it's not like him and a couple other guys. It's like, not like they're hired assassins. It's like, hey, we need this political hit done. They are a literal army. There's hundreds of them.
Yeah.
And it's like, who's hiring that? Hey, I need 500 guys to go into a war zone. Who's hiring that out?
Right.
I mean, it makes no sense. So none of his backstory or what they were planning on doing with this money or why they wanted it or anything really made any sense.
I mean, it just greed.
I guess.
But yeah, it's pretty stupid.
What country could they buy with $140 billion, by the way, do you think?
No country?
I think they could buy...
Countries aren't for sale. You can't buy a country.
Tanzania.
You can't buy a country. It's messed up.
Bhutan. No, Bhutan's got a lot of money. I don't know, but I
Somalia.
You could... Yeah, I knew you were going to say that one. You could also... Kosovo. You could also... Estonia. There you go. Estonia. You could buy Estonia.
Okay.
Russia would sell Estonia.
Sure.
Russia doesn't own Estonia anymore. But you could... I think by buy a country, they mean like buy all the land or most of the land in the country.
Yeah, or they just mean buy their way into it.
Or have a revolt. Yeah, buy their way into it and then revolt against it. Stage a revolt against whatever government's there and make their own dictatorship. Maybe that's what they wanted to do. Maybe they wanted to establish... Maybe they wanted a black man and a white man or whatever to establish a new nation. Remember? Maybe that's what they were looking to do. Anyway, it's not good.
No. But it doesn't matter because they don't win.
That's true. They don't. That'd be a really weird ending if they won.
And you know what? Even if they did blow up all the money, people could still get it. The river is not like a bottomless pit, and they would because it's a lot of fucking money. Mm-hmm. It would be worth it to dredge it. And get it.
Shit. Agreed. Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense because yes, gold is soft, like pure gold is a soft metal and everything, but you can't just disintegrate it.
Right.
Like, it doesn't work like that.
Not well thought out.
No. But yeah, that's the movie. I have nothing else to say about it.
Me either. It's no good. Don't do it. Wait for it to come out on video.
Go see.
And then you can, engage in fellatio.
Go.
In the comfort of your own home.
That's right. That's what it's all about. Go see, I don't know, something else instead. What was the last good movie we saw? Oh, it's been so long.
Right? I can't even think. We better find a good one for next week.
Oh my god. I think next week we're watching Batman.
That's not good.
The Batman movie. You don't know.
I know it's a superhero movie.
I know you're not a big fan.
No.
I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. We could watch Congo. That's getting really bad reviews.
Maybe we'll love it.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, well.
What should we watch, guys? Should we watch Congo or Batman and whatever?
Maybe you guys should save us from it and email us and tell us some old 80s movie you want us to review instead.
Yeah, there you go.
Latefee1994 at AOL.com.
All right. Well, that is it for us. I don't know. Tell them something.
Leave us the stars and the likes and tell your friends and keep listening and all that good stuff.
All right. We'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.